friendship that'll never ever end.
Run!
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Reaction Beanie Yo 418. Day in the neighborhood. My brothers and sisters, the weekend is upon us once again, my friends. And we gonna start this thing off right, because we going back to Adrian from Coffeehouse Crime. The second official Coffee Man Friday, y'all. And the title of the video is, Did Gold Digger Murder Her Billionaire Husband and Dog for Money? It sounds very plausible to me, because, hey, man, that's one of the traits of a freaking gold digger. Then this dude got billions of dollars. He a freaking billionaire. I mean, I don't want to pass judgment already. I don't want to judge the book by its cover. But I'm just saying, y'all, we'll watch stories like this. And I know this is going to be a crazy one. But before we check it out, my brothers and sisters, y'all also know what y'all got to do. Get whatever you may need. Get what you need, please. Another Coffee Man Friday. Y'all got what y'all need? Y'all ready to go? Then let's fucking go.
When 77-year-old billionaire Kosuke Nozaki married 22-year-old Saki Sudo, people across the nation of Japan were surprised by the news. So, you can probably imagine how shocked they were when he ended up dead only 3 months later. A myriad of concerning clues led the authorities to his young wife, who seemed almost emotionless over his death. But with no concrete evidence placing the guilt in her hands, they would find it hard to convict her legally. So, who was Kosuke Nozaki? Why would his wife want to murder him in cold blood? What were the clues left behind? And how did this billionaire have sex with over 4,000 women? Welcome back to Coffeehouse Crime, folks. My name is Adrian, and today we're looking at the wild case of Kosuke Nozaki. It is definitely one of the weirdest stories that I've covered. I've said it before here and I'll say it again, but Japan is a very safe country to live in. But when murder occurs, the story does go hard. Oh, and by the way, Coffeehouse Crime is all about true crime, strange and chilling stories. So if that does sound like your kind of thing, hit subscribe, grab some coffee, and enjoy the show. This is the case of Kosuke Nozaki.
Get whatever you may need. And I gotta just go on and say this all off the rip, man. 77, and I think she 22 or whatever, 70s, and she in her 20s. This man, come on now. That's just like, come on, man. I just find it real hard to believe that anybody can be in love with a freaking 70-year-old and they in their 20s. You don't, like, come on, man. That right there just already throwing me off. And he had sex with 4,000 women? That, man, that's some Wilt Chamberlain type ish. If you know, you know.
Hey there folks, and welcome back to Japan. Our case today pulls us to the southern city of Tanabe, located in Wakayama Prefecture. Now, Tanabe City is the historic and present-day gateway to Kumano, a key location for land and ocean transport routes in the south of Japan. Otherwise, it is a sleepy coastal city with a population of around 65,000 residents, and is the largest in the south of the Kii Peninsula. While here, you will find Tanabe Bay to the east of the city, with mountains to the west. As for the city itself, it plays a vital role in Japan's fishing and agriculture industries, and is famous for its oranges and umeboshi. a Japanese pickled plum. Although Tanabe has always been a relatively quiet city, the population has steadily decreased over the decades. Back in the 40s, it used to be almost twice the population it is now, and one of those families living there was the Nozaki family. Born on April the 13th, 1941, Kosuke was the third son of 7 children. Growing up in a large family meant that he was often left to his own devices, but his parents did love him nevertheless. He was known to be quite the troublemaker though. At home, he often got in trouble with his siblings, and in addition to the bullying at school, Kosuke's grades were known to be quite bad. It was for this reason that he dropped out of higher education to help at his family's liquor store. The Nozaki family were not wealthy by any means, so the help was greatly appreciated by his parents. It seems that around this time, Kosuke became obsessed with money and would do almost anything to increase the store's revenue. Of course, in the background, filling his pockets with pocket money. As life goes, Kosuke's parents would eventually pass away, with Kosuke claiming his share of their inheritance after they did. It was at that moment that he used their inheritance to start his own business, and although that may sound like a relatively good thing, he was basically a glorified loan shark. Now, back then, being a loan shark was very different, and the rules and regulations in which you could loan money out were almost non-existent. Nowadays, interest rates cannot exceed more than 20%. Doing so would be illegal and brandish you as a yamikin, which is short for yamikinyu or dark finance in Japanese. So, you could say that Kosuke was a very unfair loan shark before the rules and regulations stepped in. In short, he made massive amounts of money through other people's debts. As you can quite likely imagine, this also created tension between Kosuke and his siblings. I mean, they were already on rocky terms, but this corrupt way of earning money was enough to make a rift. Now, Kosuke was a businessman through and through, and actually had several other businesses in the background. He was a scrap metal collector, he was a real estate developer, and he also sold condoms door to door. Looking through old Japanese reports, it seems that all of these ventures were not actually profitable, and so it's safe to assume that all of the money he made was through debt collection. Saying that, he would eventually go hard into real estate and make massive amounts of money.
I mean, some of Kosuke's, Mama say Mama Mumaku, whatever his name is, man. You can say, especially like that loan shark shit is like unethical how he made a lot of his money. But you at the same time, you can't knock his hustle, y'all. Like this man doing a lot of different stuff out here. He addicted to that money and he out here getting it. So I ain't knocking him for that, even though that some of the ways he was doing it was effed up. But in a way, I gotta respect it. Let's go.
Back to his questionable career, he was once prosecuted for tax evasion, so you can already tell that this man is not the most ethically sensitive of entrepreneurs. While Kosuke's wealth grew, so did his body count, and no, despite my genre, I'm not actually talking about murder here. Because you see, this man was infatuated with women, and believed that sex was the meaning of life. You see, while going door to door to sell condoms, he would subtly hint at his additional services to women who appeared to be alone. And yeah, I guess he must have had some success in doing so. Kosuke would become known as a wealthy playboy who had a lot of sex with lots of women, paid and unpaid. In fact, he reportedly spent more than 3 billion yen on just over 4,000 women over the years. That's equivalent to 16 million pounds or 20 million US dollars. When questioned by a Japanese broadcaster, his response was, "When I find a woman of my type, tall and voluptuous, I would tell her, I want to go out with you and have sex with you. I'll give you 400,000 yen if you agree." Kosuke would often spend a lot of money in nightclubs too, often partying late into the night in Kitashinchi, that being a famous entertainment district in Osaka. Saying that, Kosuke made many enemies over the years too. He would often trick his friends and strangers out of money, and it's reported that in the year 1998, he had even suffered a stab wound from an acquaintance that he tried to deceive. With loan sharking eventually becoming a less lucrative business, he would continue to work in his family-run liquor store, which had grown in size and revenue. Now, Kosuke's wealth and fame would be bolstered in the year 2016, when he wrote his autobiography named Don Juan of Kishu. This book, which was published in December of 2016, focused on how he made himself a wealthy man. And although this book may have never taken off on its own, it was eventually picked up in an episode of AIM Talk, a popular TV show in Japan back in the day. This, combined with a couple interviews, propelled his book into becoming a bestseller, regardless of whether it was good or not. By now, Kosuke could afford almost anything he wanted. I mean, the man was literally handing out letters with free money attached to it to any woman that he thought was beautiful.
I'm just now, y'all already know I'm stuck on the fact that he spent over $20 million on women on the P word. Are you kidding me, man? $20 freaking million. Now, see, that just lets you know that's when you just got he literally just, money is like literally a piece of paper to him. You know what I'm saying? A freaking $100 bill is no different. He probably take that $100 bill, turn that bit sideways and stick it straight up your candy ass. Like, that's how, it don't mean nothing to him, man. Jesus. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. It's like, I'm sitting up here wondering if I was a billionaire, I wouldn't do no shit like that, man. I'm sorry, bro. I'm not spending no $20 million on no shit like that. I'm sorry, man. But hey, different stroke for different folks.
Of course, in a desperate bid to sleep with them. Luxurious cars, multiple homes, business class flights worldwide, and expensive boats. You name it, the man had it all. By 2017, Kosuke had entered his golden years and was now 77 years old. And despite his rather impressive age, he was still allegedly going hard in the bedroom. Now, it's no secret that Japan's life expectancy is better than Western countries. But in addition to this, he wrote in his autobiography that he avoided smoking, drugs, and stimulants. Despite his extraordinarily high body count, 2017 was going to be the year that he settled down and found love. And it just so happens that he did. Now, Kosuke had already been married twice before, with both marriages ending in divorce. He didn't have anyone or anything close to him, apart from his trusted dachshund named Eve. In fact, he would often joke about Eve inheriting his entire empire and estate should he ever die. It was in the autumn of 2017 that he encountered a young woman named Saki Sudo. And when I say young, I really do mean it. Because despite his age of 77, she was 55 years younger at 22. Now, according to his book and interviews, the two met at Tokyo Haneda Airport, though there are reports that they met in less exciting ways. Regardless, the story goes like this. After spotting her in a crowd, he purposefully fell in front of her to grab her attention. Fast forward 1 hour, and the two were having drinks in an airport lounge. Although Sudo was just another number to his 4,000 women, she would soon become much more than that. In fact, several months later, the two would officially be married. Before we carry on with this story though, who precisely is Saki Sudo? Born in 1996, Saki Sudo was over half a century younger than her newlywed husband. Being born in Sapporo on Japan's northern island Hokkaido, her parents were relatively wealthy and could afford nice food and designer brands occasionally. Much like Kosuke, she was not academically ambitious and sometimes was at the brunt of bullying. As a result, she was fairly timid and rarely spoke out in class. But by the time she reached her mid-teenage years, her demeanor would change. With the financial support of her mother and father, she began to buy expensive handbags, coats, and clothing. And making friends through her newfound hobby, Saki became obsessed with money and beauty. This is probably why she began a course in beauty and makeup. And to complement her income, she allegedly also worked as a prostitute and was involved in several adult videos. She would eventually move to Tokyo to become a beautician, but apparently, even this decision was rather sketchy. Allegedly, she became obsessed with a host in a bar in Sapporo, spending upwards of 150,000 yen or $1,000 to spend time with him. And after he announced that he was moving to Tokyo, she followed him in his footsteps. Since their relationship was made through money and not love, it didn't take long for their situation to break down. But Saki did not need him anymore, for she'd found a new target instead. Of course, that being the Don Juan of Kishu, Kosuke Nozaki. And after meeting him at Haneda Airport, the two quickly, for a lack of a better word, fell in love. A few months later, they were married. Kosuke would even give his new wife a contract, declaring that she didn't have to cook, clean, or do any of the housework. and in addition to this, she was given 1 million yen a month in pocket money. It seemed that Kosuke was ready to slow down and enjoy the remaining years of his life with someone by his side.
And see, this is the thing I want to just bring up real quick, y'all, because this is what I believe, man. Like, I believe as far as, like, Kosuke go, he know that this little young-ass girl don't really, like, love him like that. He know that she is waiting on him to croak over one day. But I feel like people at that age, they just want to just be happy for their last couple of years. And this, for some reason, the little young type of that's what he want. You know what I'm saying? And he just want to live that life for the next couple of years, even though that he know that this damn girl don't really love him like that. It's kind of sad, but I understand it. But as far as she go, man, come on, man. Everybody and their mama know what you doing. You can't even deny it. I'm sorry, man. There's no freaking way you love this man and you freaking 22 and he's 77. This man got a lot of money and you just waiting on the day that he don't wake up no more so you can get it. And it sounded like you probably couldn't even wait until he couldn't wake up no more. You decided that it was time for him to not wake up no more and you took it into your own hands. I don't know, man. But let's see.
As for Saki, she appeared to be deeply in love with her older husband. Over the following weeks, the media would capture several images of Kosuke and Saki together, often accompanied by his beloved dog named Eve. Images show them walking the dog, taking trips to the mall in his Mercedes, and dining at fine restaurants. Life seemed comfortable, and it appeared that Kosuke found an excellent way to live out the rest of his years, with Saki and Eve by his side. The problem is, the rest of his years would not be for very long, because only 3 months after marrying Saki, he would be dead.
3 months.
Let's first rewind 18 days before his death, because unfortunately, another tragedy happened on May the 6th, 2018. In the early morning hours, Kosuke woke up to the sound of yelping. His dog, Eve, had started fitting and thrashing uncontrollably, and was visibly in a great deal of pain. Although Kosuke was prepared to take her to the vet, it was sadly all too late, with her dying several minutes later in his arms. The news devastated Kosuke. Eve was his pride and joy, the one true love that stuck by him for over a decade. And in her shadow, he was distraught with the empty feeling of loss and grief. The following day, he hired a monk to help host a ceremony for her. Eve passed away under very strange circumstances. I mean, sure, she was an elderly dog, but she was in great health, had no known conditions, and exuded no illnesses or ailments. It is safe to assume that her sudden death left Kosuke absolutely dumbfounded. Not
Why the hell did she kill? I forgot all about that part of the title of the video, y'all. Why did she kill the dog, man? Like, what was the point of doing that? I think she poisoned that dog or did something to that dog, man. Cause man, no dog just, especially your dog living in the house, man. You ain't just gonna wake up one day and the damn dog just tripping out. You know what I'm saying, man? No. Now I have had, and this long story short, story long, I have had a dog when I was little that got bit by a freaking got bit by a squirrel and caught rabies and tripped out like that. But this don't happen every day. You know what I'm saying, man? So no.
that it would matter for long though, because 18 days later, on the evening of May the 24th, Kosuke himself was dead. The man was found almost entirely naked on his bedroom couch, slumped over in a precarious manner.
She did it.
An autopsy conducted on his body found that Kosuke had an aggressively lethal dose of stimulants in his body, far more than what's required to kill a man. As a result, it was concluded that the cause of his death was acute stimulant poisoning, caused by ingesting a large amount of stimulants all at once. But this was a very intriguing detail for any of those who read his books, because Kosuke often talked about how he was opposed to drugs and stimulants. In addition to this, tests conducted on his hair concluded that he was not a long-term user. In addition to this, no puncture marks were found anywhere on his body, meaning he must have drank or eaten the stimulant, which by the way delivers none of the intended effects, but all of the lethality. And now, all of a sudden, Kosuke's death, and perhaps even Eve's death, were beginning to look like murder. Detectives observing the home surveillance footage confirmed that the only people to enter the property in the hours before his death were his wife and his cleaner. Apparently, Kosuke had spent most of the day arranging a funeral for his dog. His cleaner was present for most of the day, leaving at around 4 p.m. to run several errands. Kosuke left Saki downstairs at around 6 p.m. to make several phone calls upstairs, and shortly after this, his cleaner returned. At around 6:30 p.m., while Saki and the cleaner watched TV downstairs, they heard a thumping coming from upstairs. Although the cleaner asked Saki to check on him, she shrugged it off instead. At 10 p.m. and still with no sign of Kosuke, the cleaner once more asked Saki to check in on him. That is when the women found him dead in his bedroom. With Kosuke busily preparing his dog's funeral, it is quite unlikely that he intended to take his own life. And so, with that in mind, there is one burning question. Who put stimulants in his food or drink? Now, the only two people who could have given these stimulants were the two that were captured on surveillance camera, that being his wife or his cleaner. The problem...
And which one more probable to do it to y'all? The cleaner or the wife who is 50 years younger than him and just waiting on him to croak so she can goddamn take everything that he freaking got? Like, which one y'all think it is?
is that Kosuke had the same cleaner for more than a decade. They were on good terms, and there was no motive or benefit in murdering him. And so, this firmly left the spotlight on Saki Sudo, the 22-year-old woman he had married only 3 months prior. The obvious statement here is that perhaps she was a gold digger, merely in it for the money. If Kosuke were to die, she would be able to inherit his entire empire, which by the way was worth 5 billion yen. That's the equivalent of 33 million US dollars or 27 million British pounds. Saki also appeared to be rather nonchalant in his death. It was reported that she was emotionless at his funeral, often on her smartphone or chatting away with his cleaner. Apparently, she was even seen playing games on her phone during his service. And this video shows her rather casual emotions immediately after his funeral. With all of this in mind, Saki was not in a comfortable position. Many were already suspicious of her motive after marrying Kosuke, and with him now dead and her relatively unfazed, things were not looking good.
You gotta keep in mind, y'all, we gotta go back just to watch this again. This is hours after her husband's funeral, and she's smiling and laughing and giggling like, come on, look at this, my brothers and sisters, and tell me you believe that she ain't had nothing to do with this man murder. Look at this.
Many were already suspicious of her motive after marrying Kosuke, and with him now dead and her relatively unfazed, things were not looking good. Saki grew quite dismissive towards the media after this. She would often tell them that she was not available for comment, and there were reports of her even fighting the paparazzi. Now, despite the strange circumstances, there evidently was not enough evidence to confidently charge Saki with murder. Investigators would even dig up Eve's body to check for toxic stimulants in her system, but with her body left to decompose for 3 weeks, all tests would return inconclusive. And sadly, Kosuke's case frosted over with no substantial leads or developments for multiple years. To make matters worse, under prolonged scrutiny, Saki plans to move overseas in 2021. With this information, officers knew that they had to act fast. If they let her board a flight out of Japan and to Dubai, there was no guarantee they would ever see her again. And so, in May of 2021, which was 3 years after Kosuke's and Eve's sudden deaths, she was officially arrested and held on suspicion of murder. With Japanese law stating that you can only detain someone for 30 days on suspicion of murder, the authorities knew that they were against the clock. Detectives released a myriad of evidence over the following weeks. To begin with, Saki confirmed in a police interview that she did not travel upstairs between 4 and 6 p.m. However, her iPhone's health app data would suggest otherwise. And if this were true, it meant that she was in contact with him while he was dying. In addition to this, her internet history confirms that she searched for drug stimulants and suppliers merely weeks before Eve's death. To make matters worse, forensics would also find traces of narcotics on the kitchen floor and in the vacuum cleaner. Her phone also revealed that she was in contact with a well-known and established drug dealer, and tracing technology confirms that both of them were in the same place at the same time. Apparently, Kosake had also talked about divorce in the weeks leading up to his death, because allegedly she would not live with him in his home in Tanabe. Meanwhile, Kosake had, no surprise, already found a new partner. The evidence gets worse. Only 2 months after his death, Saki held a shareholders meeting at their house, which, by the way, she attended alone. And in this meeting, she appointed herself president of the company. She then awarded herself an annual salary of $1.5 million US. And to add to that, she gave herself a personal bonus of $400,000. And when officers finally caught up with her in Tokyo, they found out that she was planning to flee to Dubai with all of the money she had accrued. With all of the loose evidence at their disposal, Saki Sudo was officially charged with the murder of Kosake Nozaki. Now unfortunately, she still awaits trial. It appears that despite almost 3 years since her arrest and nearly 6 years since his death, nothing has happened. What is strange is that there seems to be no update on her current whereabouts, leading some to speculate that she has been discreetly discharged and released. If she is to stand trial, it will be difficult for authorities to prove that she is guilty. Poisonings can be very challenging to prove, especially after so much time has passed by. Regardless, Saki maintains her innocence to this day, and despite the various articles of evidence against her, she remains adamant that she had nothing to do with his death, and that she thoroughly loved the man. Kosake's friends have confirmed that he did plan to divorce Saki, with one of them even admitting that he'd asked him to come over and be present when he told her the bad news.
See, that's what I'm saying, man. It's too many signs leading to it being her, y'all. It's too many freaking signs. I really do believe that she freaking did this shit. And I feel like that's one of those signs that kind of like just put the cherry on top. The fact that this dude was about to divorce her, that is let you know that they marriage wasn't even working, and she... I hate to say it, but she killed him, you know what I'm saying? In order to get that freaking money before they cut ties with each other. Now she can't get no money. You get what I'm saying? Simple. This is a simple one.
So this has led many to believe that Saki may have learned of the news before she was supposed to find out, therefore leading her to haphazardly murder her husband before she lost his inheritance. Until we find out more, we do owe Saki the right to remain innocent until proven guilty. Though, personally, if you ask me, she definitely has those murderous gold digger vibes. Nobody knows who will inherit Kosake's empire. If Saki is found guilty, then his family have a fighting chance to claim it. Though, for now, all of his assets remain frozen to this day. It is a shame that Kosake passed away, and I'm sure we can all agree that Eve's death hurts just as much. Anyway folks, I think that pretty much concludes our case today. I hope you found this short story just as interesting. Before you go though, what do you think about this story? Do you think that Saki was the one to murder Kosake? Or do you think it was someone else? If you'd like to support me in the channel, check out my Patreon, or alternatively, buy a bag of my coffee, classified. And if I timed this video correctly, I am currently on a working holiday, so if you do want to follow me in my adventures, check out my social media, most notably my Instagram. By the way, my next video is going to be a very long one and slightly different, so with that in mind, there's only one video next week. Please be sure to check it out when it arrives. Anyway folks, that is it for me today. Thank you again for watching, and as always, I'll see you again very soon for another one. Until that moment arrives though, remember to look after yourself, look after each other, and of course, stay safe. Thank you, and goodbye.
Tell y'all what, my brothers and sisters, I think she killed both of them. Like, real talk, man. Like, I mean, and this go back to the video that we watched yesterday when I was talking about the unsolved mystery stuff. And a lot of time, all the evidence be right there who did it, and they still don't goddamn put them in jail, man. And this one of those stories, the evidence is there, man. Way too much evidence, man. The fact that this man ain't even did stimulants like that. The fact that his dog just started freaking out. The fact that you are 22 years old and he is 77 and you already got a history of being a prostitute and being a gold digger, and you know what I'm saying, trying to be with dudes because of their money and stuff. Look, the fact that he fucking it was only you and the maid in the house, and like I said, who you believe? The damn maid did it, who been with him for 10 plus years and had no reason to kill him, no money involvement with him, or the fact that he was about to divorce your ass and you had a lot of money tied up that you wanted to get and take. Like it's so many signs with this one, y'all. It's so many signs, man. And it's frustrating watching these. It's crazy, y'all. We done watched 2 unsolved mysteries back to back, man. Freaking crazy. But I digress. I'm gonna let y'all go. This was a little shorter one, man. We'll definitely be back tomorrow to go to AJ from the Wi-Fi's. And until then, my friends, make sure y'all hit that like button, comment, subscribe, do all that. And I'm gonna leave you with this. Love, peace, and happiness. Stay safe. Don't stop. Keep going. Yeah.